Do you ever find yourself struggling with just thinking about how rapidly the world is changing and how stressful it is with the advancement of technology? And you feel like things are getting worse instead of better. Or maybe some of your family members or your friends are really struggling to cope with this. Well, that's what this episode is going to be about. I'm going to let you know kind of how I feel and some of my family members feel and some of my friends feel, some of my acquaintances feel, and how we deal with this. Because on a lot of videos in the past, when I point things out, sometimes it sounds really stressful, like the world is going to end. And so on this video, I just want to put things into perspective a little bit more. I want to inform you, but maybe put you at ease. Or put somebody else, that you know at ease. So before we get going, my name is Sean. I have a background in tech. I used to design and build autonomous robotic devices for the military and the aerospace industry. And I've had my own software company for the last 23 years. And as you can see, I'm walking around in beautiful southern Arizona. And, in the past, I've been in my studio quite a bit, but I noticed how some of you guys really enjoy when I get out. Because not only do you listen to me, you get to see something cool. And sometimes I get all over the place, like even Monument Valley way up north. I just like to surprise you guys and be different places while I talk. All right, let's get right to the subject at hand here. Now, how do we balance being informed and knowing too much about something and keeping our sanity? That is a really, really tricky situation. And a good example of that is my wife. I not only have seen things with my past working in projects I'm not going to talk about, but now that I'm immersing myself in AI and AI's effect on humanity, and I've got connections on this, I really try to keep an open mind. I said, you know what I'm going to do with this channel? AI is advancing. There's going to be good things. There's going to be bad things. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my best to, hey, look at my head. It looks like a fork sticking out. Woo! I wanted to do my best in telling you not only the good things, but the bad things, and balance it really good. And I wanted to really help you guys even be able to use AI, chatbots, LLMs, any of this new technology to adapt. Any of you guys lose your job. My goal was really to try to turn a negative into a positive. Well, unfortunately, the more I dug into everything and the more I know, the more I'm realizing that this is really bad. Now I'm going to be doing a video on the good things about AI that are going to help humans or are helping. Mostly not going to talk about things that it could do. I'm going to talk about things that it is doing. Because could do is just not proven yet. Hasn't cured cancer yet, so we're not going to say it does that. But what I have found is when I list the good things about AI for humanity versus the bad things, it is 4-1. There are 4 bad things to every 1 good thing about AI. Now, some things that are bad are just annoying. They're just annoying. Some things are just slightly disruptive and some things are majorly disruptive. But there's other things about this whole thing that's going on that is almost criminal, almost a major cover-up. I shouldn't even say almost. You guys can remove the word almost. There are things going on that, you think, some of you guys think AI is really going to help. It's helping you write papers and, it's amazing. But what I'm finding out is these large companies aren't necessarily setting this thing up so you can write a paper. There is a huge infrastructure being put in place to completely surveil the general public and to control everybody, all buying and spending, all buying and selling, And so that's just some of the things. And then the ability for AI to deceive people with fake things is causing people to not only believe fake things, but now they're having a hard time believing real things because they are suspicious that the real things are fake. Now, what that mostly affects catastrophically is the news, public opinion, and politics. These companies can put any politician in place and make them look awesome. And anybody else who is honest and wants to represent the people, they're going to have so much dirt thrown on them that is fake from AI. So AI is going to have huge consequences for the world. It is going to be used to overthrow governments. And so those are just some of the things that I was, letting you know that are kind of disturbing. But I haven't told you every single thing I know yet. I haven't told you. There's a reason why I can't say some of this stuff publicly, but how do we cope with this? Now, for me, some of these things that I discovered or some people that I have talked with that are closer on the inside on some of this stuff, I get done or I uncover some political corruption as they're building these data centers everywhere. And these data centers are being done in secret with shell company names and things like that. As I uncover these things, sometimes I would not be able to sleep very well at night. It's that bad. It's a situation where the more you know, the worse it is. How do you function? And you guys may know people who not only, maybe talk about AI, but they talk about other things. I know a wide spectrum of people. I know people that have been talking about chemtrails since the 1980s. And I thought they're crazy. I think they're less crazy now. But despite that, it's really hard when you know this much information and it's really terrible, and it almost makes a person feel kind of frantic, like they got to do something about it. But now let's talk about my wife. My wife, when she hears this stuff, she's a mother, she's a grandmother, we got other stuff to worry about too. Well, she hears this stuff and she says, that's really depressing. And then she gets to the point she doesn't want to hear about it anymore. Not because she wants to bury her head in the sand, but it's more of a defense mechanism. It's a way for people to function during the day and doing other things that are not stressing about how crappy everything's getting. So I'm able to sort all this stuff out a little bit more. And a lot of that reason for that is because I like to know the nuts and bolts and how everything works on the inside. I was one of those guys that took everything apart when I was a kid so I could see how it worked. I want to know how that kitchen appliance worked. My mom didn't like that, but I needed to see how the gears worked in the can opener and things like that. Well, my wife was happy to use, she's happy to use a can opener without taking the cover off it and see how the gears work inside. So, I have to say, in reality, I cannot blame my wife for reacting like she does. It's not only her, but it's a lot of people. You have a lot of different types of people and different reactions when it comes to dealing with these things that are going on. Some people, you would say, just bury their head in the sand. Other people, they hear the counter argument even though it doesn't make sense, and then they tell everybody about that. So there's all these different perspectives on this, but how do we all function when we hear that all of this AI infrastructure is being put in place? And I predict, this is just Sean predicting, I predict that AI is going to be so disruptive that we are going to reach a 50% unemployment rate. Now keep in mind, in the 1930s, during the height of the Great Depression, the unemployment rate peaked at 25%. I predict that AI and robotics, we're going to combine robotics with it as well, because Amazon is cutting workers and replacing them with robotics. I predict between those two things that unemployment will meet or exceed 50%. It'll be double what it was in the Great Depression. But how do we cope with this? We think the world is ending. Well, I think first of all, a person has to just, you have to kind of get some kind of perspective. Now, each one of us was born in a different era. And I'm not talking about just us who are, even you guys who are watching this video. I'm talking about people that were born 1,000 years ago, 500 years ago, 200 years ago. A lot of times people get caught up in things. They get caught up in things that are bigger than them. They're born, they're growing up, and they just try to live. They just want to live. But there's a giant war going on, and they're taking all your kids to turn them into soldiers. There are so many instances in history where things have been really terrible, and people are just caught up in it, and there's not much you can do about it. Right now, what I'm trying to do is get the word out, but I still don't feel like, even if we get the word out, we're going to be able to stop what's going on. Because right now, we have a situation where instead of there being opportunity from being poor to kind of advancing your financial status, even into a middle class, now we're getting a situation where not only the middle class is being wiped out, but some of the upper class is being wiped out. And then you have the people at the very top. You have Bernie Sanders. He says the billionaires and the trillionaires. He quit saying millionaires because he's one. But these guys like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, and others. These large companies, and there's only a few now, that are consolidating all of the power and all of the money into one place, that they're kind of the storm that's coming and the storm that's here. They're creating a situation which is really pushing all of this forward. And so people like myself and anyone else, we can't stop it. These guys wield way too much power. And they have more money than any human has ever had before on Earth. And with that kind of money, you can do some really scary things. You can even have people taken out. And so this is really not going to stop. And why did I get off on that? Well, what I wanted to say was, if you put everything into perspective, that this is the time period you're living in, you're witnessing this, you're taking part in this. There is, this is, if you were auditioning for a play, but let's say you weren't, you were just born into this play. There's a part for you to, there's a role for you. There's a role for everybody. So when we have these large events happening where things get really terrible, does it help if we're all freaked out? It does not help. It does help to kind of know about things, but everybody needs to continue to live their life. Even though some things you find out about are really disturbing, we still need to live life. And you have to, you know what, I'm just going to let you know right away that one of the biggest things I recommend people do, so obvious. Look at all this stuff that's adding stress to your life. Sometimes what you got to do is just maybe silence your phone, put down the technology for a little bit, and go outside. You may not have this, but you might have something else. Go walk in the woods, go walk by a pond in the park. There's a lot of different things you can do. One of the things we're really lacking now, even the younger people, is just interacting with everybody in person. Interacting with people on your phone is not the same. I just really think that in the midst of all this stuff, we have to also try to enjoy our lives in the midst of the struggle. And I understand that some people are in a big struggle right now, and I'm talking about financially. And it is really stressful. And I feel for you, because there were times in my life that it was really stressful. You just go, how are you going to pay the bills? How are you? Well, some of you guys are struggling even beyond that. You're like, where am I going to live? I don't have an easy answer for you, but we have to try our best to find even 5 minutes of peace, even if you can get 5 minutes of it. If you can just walk away for a little bit, or go somewhere you enjoy, or go meet up with a friend or whatever. I know it's easier said than done for some of you guys, but we can't sit and dwell on this stuff all of the time. And so for me, this was a holiday weekend. And yesterday I was gathering with family for Thanksgiving dinner. I really actually didn't want to go, to be honest with you. And you guys are wondering, well, why wouldn't you want to go? Because, I mean, my brother invited me over and all my kids to be there. Not all my kids, but all my living kids. My son and my daughter will be there. Grandkids will be there. But I almost didn't want to go. And it's not because of AI. It's because all my kids served in the military, and two of them are no longer with us. My oldest boy and my youngest daughter. You know, my oldest boy is in the Air Force, and he was in Afghanistan, and he didn't survive that. And my daughter didn't survive the military as well. And so we've had a double loss. And holidays are hard. You know, some of you guys are having real bad financial hell, and I've got my own hell going on, you know. Do the best I can. Try to keep going. You know, life wants to knock you on your butt, knock you down, kick you, stomp you. You notice that? Sometimes you just get knocked down, and you're not only down, but then also life just starts kicking you too while you're down. Yeah, I felt like that. But I'm still standing. And guys, if I can do this, so can you. I'm serious. I want to encourage people and not just depress them about everything. So in my videos, I'm going to keep informing you of what is going on with AI, but I'm also going to start talking about some other subjects, some things that are kind of changing. We're having some things happening on Earth, with the Earth and with nature and things like that. And there are some technologies that are having some real bad side effects to things. And so, you know, I just want to walk and talk with you guys. And whenever I can, I'm going to have amazing scenery in the background. You know, I think you guys need that. Look at how peaceful it is out here. These cactus are beautiful. So guys, if people don't want to hear the doom and gloom, don't blame them. You know, you might think their head is in the sand, but I think people just generally have a survival instinct, and they want to somehow be able to function each day. And like my wife, if she heard this stuff all the time, you know, being a mother and a grandmother, you tell someone like that the world is ending, and then they worry about their kids and their grandkids. You know, they're just worried. It's like a panic situation, and you want to panic everybody. So, you know, we gotta have balance. So let's stay informed. I'm gonna walk and talk with you like you're here, like you're a friend. Some of you guys are my friends by now. And I'm gonna end this episode. Got this big old saguaro cactus. It's not the biggest one I've ever seen, but I'm gonna touch it. For some reason, the needles are gone right here. But these things weigh a lot. These things are really heavy. I've seen these things in Phoenix when they fall over. They'll destroy a car. I mean, they're so heavy. They're just big, solid masses. And I'll take you over here to another cool looking one. As I end this, I gotta watch out for snakes here. You guys gotta see this cactus. Tell me this isn't Arizona. Classic Arizona right here. Look at this. Look at this backdrop. Wow. How cool is that? You know, and I'm in a place where there are just thousands of those saguaro cactus. They're all over back there. They're beautiful. All right, I got a spider web. Well, let me know. Let me know in the comments what you guys think about keeping a balance in your life. Keep some perspective. You know, understand we cannot control everything. And there's not a lot you can do about it, being as small and insignificant as we are. But I'm not going to get all religious on you, but hey, I was raised Christian, and there's something bigger, much bigger than all these billionaires and trillionaires who are taking charge of all this stuff. There is something, I shouldn't say something, the Creator is far greater than all of this stuff. We need to be aware of it, but we have to let it go for a little bit. We've got to let it go. And by the way, the sun is coming up. I got to show you, the sun is coming up over this mountain right here. Look at that. And look what it's doing to the cactus. Wow. Cactus look amazing, except I'm going to have a bunch of them stuck in my leg if I'm not careful. Oh, check that out. Thank you, Lord, for the beauty of nature while we still have it. Till some rich, narcissistic idiots destroy it all. So, I'm going to end on this. For everything we gain, there is something lost. Catch you later. Bye.